What's going on, guys? It's Joey. I'm coming at you another video today. Today I'm going to give you guys a weekly update on what's going on in the fish room. That's one, and the other fish tanks as well. So starting off, a quick update on the Discus fry. I keep losing them, to be honest, like after wiggler stage, and when they're about to really just like start to attach onto the parent, the next day I would just see all of them just disappear, or the parents are eating them. Still trying to figure out what's going on there. I'm not really sure, because the only time I've gotten them all the way up to free swimmer was maybe like the 4th or 5th try, and then from there on they've been always eating them way before they can even actually attempt to attach onto their parents. So I might do a couple changes in the tank, maybe just to see if maybe the fry can't see them, or maybe they're thinking they're food or something like that. I want to tweak the tank a little bit just to experiment to see if, what's going on in there. So a couple of things I want to rule out is the CO2. Obviously I'm running high-tech CO2 on here, and I've had success in the past with using CO2 in a Planet tank growing out fry, but I don't know if the fry is susceptible to CO2. The pH swings it really. I'm going to try to rule that out by converting this tank into a low-tech tank. Two reasons. One, I need to use a CO2 tank for the fish room outside. So, instead of buying one, I'm just going to kind of just move stuff around. And that way, like, at least, the Discus fry can attempt to grow a little bit better without CO2. The other thing is, every week I've noticed, the Discus would just kind of get, I don't know, like frightened, like shocked or spooked or whatever, and they would dash around the tank, which is okay, whatever, normal, right? To an extent, right? But because I have, those driftwood pieces in there and they're kind of pointy, sharp, they tend to hit, a couple of those pieces or whatever, and they would lose a couple scales here and there every week. And, they would heal it, no problem, but it's just continuously, they're always bumping into this. So I think I'm moving the whole driftwood, the one piece that's kind of flat, all the way out of the tank, and that way I will only probably keep one, or just the breeder cones for them to breed on, or something like that, so that they don't hit themselves or kill themselves. So moving on to the Planet Reef tank, as I predicted, one of the clams wasn't doing too hot, and that one actually died probably like a couple days ago. And the other one looks like it's doing still fine. I think a couple weeks ago I mentioned that the clam was open like way too big. I don't know if you guys kept clam before, but clams are supposed to open a certain amount when they're trying to get food and get light. But this one, for whatever reason, was like open where like it looked like it was over open, like as if you were to eat like a mussel or clam, where you're like prying it. And clams tend to do this when they're about to die, where they're just like, okay, I'm dying, so I'm just going to open up, and then stuff is going to go in there and get eaten or whatever, right? So that one, unfortunately, didn't make it. So the frags I bought, the Aquaporo, is doing, I guess, fine. I've never really had success on these, SPS before. They tend to really just bleach and just die instantly for me, pretty much. This one looks like it's doing okay. The Monty looks like it's doing okay too. Like it had a little bit of bleaching, but it hasn't like bleached completely where it will kill itself. So cross my fingers there. Hopefully that one does well and bounces back. So we'll see what happens in the next couple weeks for these frags. And lastly, for the tank updates, I wanted to show you guys the rainbow fish that I bought a few weeks back. They are starting to color up really nicely. As you can see, the red ones are super nice and red. I was afraid that one of them was going to be dull, and I had a comment in the previous video saying that the dominant male will be the brightest, and then followed by the other ones where it'll be like less dull, and that kind of makes sense. I never kept rainbows before, so I don't know how that works, but some days I'll notice both of them being really red, really nice. They're getting along fairly well. It's a smaller tank for them, but it's just a temporary tank. They're in quarantine right now. And still in quarantine for probably the next couple weeks here. Make sure they eat well, they don't have anything. And then I'll probably combine these guys with the angelfish, but I'm still debating if I want to do that or I want to put them outside in the fish room. Alright, so moving on to the fish room update. A lot of things has happened in the past day or so of me working on the fish room. So the first thing is rack 1 is pretty much done. Like literally all plumbed, everything is ready to go and test. So right now I'm letting it dry for 24 hours to make sure all the glues and stuff are sticking. I don't want any, you know, chance of that. It says a couple hours, but I'm just gonna go ahead and just let it dry completely for 24 hours before I actually test it. So tomorrow or sometime this week, I'm gonna go ahead and fill up and top off the tanks completely, and then do a dry run to make sure the pump's working, make sure all the glues and all the piping that I did, you know, doesn't have any leaks. So that's probably the test run, and you'll probably see that next week in next week's update. I'll probably film, you know, throughout the week or whatever, just to make sure everything's good. So excited there. So rack 1 is complete, and oh, I'm so excited. All right, so showing you guys a little bit of the plumbing work that I did. Pretty much what I did was I used red piping for drain, so pretty much anything that's going to be going into the sump, and anything returning from the sump out is blue. And obviously there's a lot more red because, you know, stuff is being drained. That was my color code. And then on the other rack I had green, so green will be the return, and then red will be the drain. So I'm using the Aquatic I think M1 pump to filter this whole system here. This is all plumbed into one system, so it's 200 gallons pretty much, plus the sump, which is like 40 gallons. By half of that, probably like 210 or 220, whatever how many gallons that is. But it's a large system, and this pump hopefully can handle that. So what I did was I pretty much plumbed it into the sump, and then from the return, the pump goes into a UV sterilizer. And this is a pretty big UV sterilizer. It's 25 watt, and it should handle, you know, up to a bunch of gallons, 25 watts. Then from there, it goes into the return line, where I split it into two, so going one on the right tank and then one on the left tank. And then I have a ball valve pretty much controlling the flow, so if I need to adjust one, if, you know, the other tank is getting too much flow, whatever, and that way, like, they get even flow pretty much. And the way it works is it gets dumped into the top tanks, and then from the top tanks it has an overflow that dumps into the bottom tanks, and then there's another overflow from those tanks that dumps into the sump. So it's all plumbed into one, but it goes from top to bottom, left and right, being kind of semi-separated. And then on the second rack, I'm still working on the second rack. Pretty much I have to do pretty much the exact same thing there. I did some pre-plumbing for the overflows. I came short with some parts, so I ordered some more. So next week I'll probably get the rest of those parts in. Start doing pretty much the exact same thing. I want to say next week I should finish with rack 2 too. If I have time, I will probably do the quarantine tanks as well. But most likely I'll have to split those into 2 weekends or whatever, doing one rack and then doing the quarantine plumbing, because I have to drill a couple of those so that I can do the water change a little bit easier on those tanks. But yeah, the fish room is slowly getting together. Maybe next week I'll have the other tank filled and actually ready to cycle, which will be pretty cool. So rack 1 will hopefully be in the cycling phase. Alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this update. You know, if you guys haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe. If you guys would like notifications for the future on any of these updates, and especially any future plans and projects and whatnot, make sure you guys hit that bell button. It'll notify you guys when I post videos. And until next time guys, peace.